Yeah, very good morning to all the participants. Firstly, I welcome you all to the session one of day two of this 1 week online AICT IST sponsored STTP, that is short term training program on energy conservation and energy management. Dear participants, we have with us a very distinguished guest, Colonel Dr. Vikrant Srivastav sir, as our expert speaker. I feel very happy and privileged to introduce him to you all. Friends, if I enlist all his expertise and experience, it will take me this full session. So allow me to introduce him briefly. Colonel Dr. Vikrant Srivastav sir is an ex-army veteran. Sir has 32 years of military experience, military service in Indian Army. He has gained special HR and administrative skills to manage an organization with high level of leadership and esprit de corps in combat as well as in works. Sir has expertise in design and consultancy of prestigious projects of water supply, sewage, and solid waste management scheme. Sir has done extensive research on e-waste management encompassing generation, transportation, treatment, disposal, environmental impact assessment, and proposing green methods of treatment. Sir has research experience on comparison of various brick kilns with respect to environmental impact and energy consumption, thus proposing the best technique for brick production with least environmental impact. Sir has extensive experience in managerial, technical, financial, and implementation of water supply schemes and sanitation schemes, as well as within time and allotted resources. Sir has extensive experience in liaising and functioning with ministries, technical organizations, local bodies, and administrative authorities. Evaluation and monitoring of water supply and sanitation schemes, project management experience gained at Garrison Engineer in military engineering services, maintaining essential services, for example, maintenance of roads and buildings, power supply, water supply, and sanitation schemes of the cantonment. He has many papers to his credit in various national and international journals. Sir has expertise in preparation of quality system manuals, procedures, and quality audits for the ISO 9000 certification of an organization. Automation and networking of an organization works in 3 states. Sir has been imparting managerial and technical skills to executives and undergraduate students. Sir has extensive conceptual and practical knowledge of industrial safety via risk assessment, mitigation of risk, establishing and monitoring safety standards. He has expertise in handling of litigation, arbitrary expertise in HRM, administrative and communication skills. He is proficient in preparation of EIA reports and conduct of public hearing cases. He has expertise in making high-stake decisions with fast speed, high-pressure environment using experience-backed judgment, innovation, strong work ethics, and irrepressible integrity. With this extensive introduction, and on behalf of the Institute, the organizing team, and all the participants, I wholeheartedly welcome our expert for this session, Colonel Dr. Vikrant Srivastav sir. I request him to share his experience and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. Please, sir.
Good morning to you, Anurag sir. I am indeed indebted for your kind introduction and your kind words. I have been a man of the industry. I have almost 32 plus years of service in the Indian Army, where I was exposed to both combat as well as works. And fortunately for me, I got a lot of opportunity for enhancing my professional capability, academically also, in the sense I got to do my master's from LD and a PhD from GTU. As Anurag sir brought out, my specialization is on e-waste management. Primarily, I am a consultant with the UN on the e-waste, primarily transportation, storage, disposal, etc., TSDF basically. And I also give them consultancy on water supply as well as sewage schemes. Presently, I have one scheme going on in Bangladesh, and where I am giving them the technical expertise to complete their project in a mildly hilly terrain, because that is where the sewage transportation is a minor issue, but that is where I'm working on. And presently I'll be speaking on green technology, sustainable practice for energy conservation. Coming to the so my subject for the day would be green technology, a sustainable practice for energy conservation. I will request all the participants that during the conduct of my presentation, you may please note the points which you would like to clarify with me. And at the end of the presentation, I will be giving you enough opportunity to cover all my, wherever I have not been able to get my point across to you. This presentation I will be covering as primarily the introduction to green technology, principles of green technology, goals of green technology, types of green technology, green building, advantages and disadvantage of green technology. I'll be taking up 2 case studies. First case study would be Suzlon One Earth, and second would be a project on Indira Paryavaran Bhavan. I will also be, in short, introducing Graha. Primarily, I am sure because with your level, the participants' level is quite high, and you are aware about Graha as such, which was prepared by Terry and has been endorsed by the the Government of India. And finally, I'll be concluding. Sir, as most of you would be aware, that green technology is an umbrella term which describes the use of science and technology in order to minimize the human impact on the environment. Green technology, green tech.
Sir, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Sir, are you presenting, sir? Are there any slides presentation?
Yeah, I already
shared. No. Yeah. But we are not able to see that screen.
Okay. Just let me check out.
Yes.
It is not visible on screen, sir.
Yeah. Just a second.
Yes, sir. No worries, sir.
No, not to worry.
Yes, sir. Now it's visible. Yes.
Okay. Is that okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just, since this slide was earlier not visible, for the benefit of the participants, I will just tell you that primarily I am covering the introduction, principles, goals, and the types of green technology. Primarily green building and the advantages and disadvantage of green technology with 2 case studies. First case study would be on Suzlon One Earth, and second case study would be on Indira Paryavaran Bhavan. Thereafter, I'll be shortly talking about Graha and thereafter conclude. As I brought out earlier, green technology is an umbrella term which describes the use of science and technology in order to minimize the human impact on the environment. Green tech, an abbreviation for green technology, also refers to clean energy production or the environmental technology, the use of fuels and the technologies that are less harmful to the environment than the fossil fuels. Although the market for green technology is relatively young, it has garnered a significant amount of investor interest due to increasing awareness about the impacts of climate change and the depletion of natural resources. I'll be covering the principles of green technology. The green technology is primarily the inherent rather than circumstantial. That is, designers need to strive to ensure that all materials and energy inputs and outputs are inherently non-hazardous as possible. Prevention instead of treatment. It is also always better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up waste after it has formed up. Design for separation and purification operations should be so designed to minimize energy consumption and material use, to maximize efficiency. Products, processes, and systems should be so designed to maximize mass.
Sir, can I interrupt once again, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, we are able to see your screen
Yes.
that you are presenting, but we are not able to see the slide show probably.
Slide show.
You are on slide number 3, sir.
I am on slide number 4.
Okay. So, sir, I request you that what you can do is you can stop your presentation.
Yeah.
And then you select present screen and select your entire screen.
Yeah, that I have done that way.
Entire screen, and then present your PowerPoint from that. Yes, and now if you can switch to the slide. Yes, sir. Now it's perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. We are on the slide that is principles of green technology.
Correct.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Now we can see. So can you please shift up and down so we can just check whether we are able to see whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then, sir. It's happening.
Perfect now?
Okay. Yeah. It's dynamic now. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if there was some technical flaw from my side.
No, it's okay, sir. It's okay. Yeah.
I was bringing out the principles of green technology, in which I had spoken about the inherent rather than circumstances. That is, the designers need to strive to ensure that all materials and energy inputs and outputs are as inherently non-hazardous as possible. Prevention instead of treatment. It is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up the waste after it is formed up. Self-explanatory, because this is primarily on the principle of minimization of the production of waste. Design for separation. Separation and purification operations should be so designed to minimize energy consumption and use of materials. Maximize efficiency. Products, processes, and systems should be so designed to maximize mass, energy, space, and time efficiency. Another new concept is output pulled versus input pushed. Products, processes, and systems should be output pulled rather than input pushed through the use of eco-friendly energy and materials. Conserve complexity. Embedded entropy and complexity must be viewed as an investment when making design choices on recycling, reuse, or beneficial disposition. Next is durability rather than immortality. Targeted durability, not immortality, shall be the design goal of all the green technology users. Meet needs and minimize excesses. Design for unnecessary capacity or capability. Example, one size fits all solutions should be considered a design flaw. That means we must design our entire capacity to the actual requirements rather than giving excesses, because excessive produce extra waste. Minimize material diversity. Material diversity in multi-component products should be minimized to promote disassembly and value retention. Here I would also like to bring out the use of local material to the area. That is, any green building would promote the use of local material. Integrate material and energy flows. Design of products, processes, and systems must include integration and interconnectivity with available energy and material flows. Design for commercial afterlife. Products, processes, and systems should be designed for performance in a commercial afterlife. I think it is a self-explanatory thing that all your products, processes, and system should be designed for performance in a commercial afterlife. Renewable rather than depleting. Material and energy inputs should be renewable. That is rather than depleting. That is primarily I am trying to bring out the use of energy inputs and material. That is the materials and energy inputs which come from fossil fuels, coal, etc., which are depleting very fast. And whereas renewable, I would this would more imply on solar, wind energy, hydrogen energy, etc. Goals of green technology. Green buildings bring together a vast array of practices, techniques, and skills to reduce and ultimately eliminate the impacts of buildings on the environment and human health. It often emphasizes taking advantage of renewable resources like using of sunlight through passive solar and using plants and trees through green roofs, rain gardens, and reduction of rainwater runoff. Green engineering involves basic approaches to improve processes and products to make them more efficient from an environment point of view. Primarily, they are waste reduction, material management, pollution prevention, and product enhancement. As you may well comprehend, waste reduction during the construction phase, one goal should be to reduce the amount of material going into the landfills. Well-designed buildings also help reduce the amount of waste generated by the occupants as well by providing on-site solutions such as compost bins to reduce matter going to the landfills. Centralized wastewater treatment systems can prove to be very costly and use a lot of energy. And alternative to this process is converting the waste and the wastewater into fertilizer by using localized wastewater treatment systems. These avoids the costs and show other benefits. By collecting human waste at the source and running it into a semi-centralized biogas plant with other biological waste, liquid fertilizer can be produced. Just to bring out in a graphical form the waste hierarchy, reduce waste in the first place, that is primarily reduction in wasting. That will end up in diminishing land space and building new infrastructure. As such, we must avoid and minimize the production of waste. If waste has been produced, we must try to reuse it, recover maximum energy from it, and recycle the waste. Bulk reduction and disposal are the ultimate aims of any waste hierarchy. I think this graph is self-explanatory by itself. Then is the materials management. Materials management involves activities that lead to the recovery of material or finished components for reuse in their highest value added application. This involves making a material useful while minimize the amount of added processing needed to effect recovery. So we must design for recycling, design for disassembly, and toxic waste management. The environmental benefits of material management results from a reduction in waste volume and landfill impact, and in the case of toxic management, a significant reduction in hazardous contamination of land and groundwater. Pollution prevention. The goal of pollution prevention eliminates the use of the manufacturing processes that generate pollution. This can be achieved by either redesign of processes to eliminate the production of harmful byproducts or redesign of products to eliminate the need of these processes that generate harmful byproducts. Economic benefits of pollution prevent results from the reduced and more stable pollution compliance, cost reduction or elimination of environmental damage, liability, reduced risk to worker health and safety and goodwill of the customer and the public. Coming to product enhancement, earlier product performance and ease of production was the dominant criteria and established requirement for design and manufacturing. But as soon as the effects of environmentally harmful practices become evident, more emphasis is given on products which are environmentally friendly by placing destruction in the form of regulations on the amount of environment damage that could be legally permitted, such that these exceptions are based on what is referred as environmental protection model and represent the first in the evolution of environmental progressive actions. A product can be significantly enhanced by the inclusion of features that result in less waste and pollution during its use through the operating life. This includes systems that reduce the need for resource during operation, such as energy conserving appliances, washing machines that use less water, and intelligent traffic control systems. Types of green technology. Green technology is a broad category that encompasses several forms of environmental remediation. While climate change and carbon emissions are now considered among the most pressing global issues, there are many efforts to address local environmental hazards. Some seek to protect specific ecosystems or endangered species. Others seek to conserve scarce natural resources by finding more sustainable alternatives. Constructing of green buildings. Firstly, what is a green building? A green building is a building that in its design, construction, and operation reduces or eliminates negative impacts and can create positive impacts on our climate and the environment. Green buildings preserves precious natural resources and improves the quality of life. A graphical representation. Primarily, the construction materials should be eco-friendly to all the living creatures. The indoor quality, the ambient air quality in the building should promote the health and reduce the negative impact of the waste being generated from the building. The building should be so designed that the water and is recycled in the water, the wastewater such plant that so recycling takes place and it is independent of any water supply which may be required from outside. As such, all of us would agree that human beings have occupied the maximum land and it is time to place boundaries. That is, I would wish to say that our cities which are ever spreading and creating environmental hazards. Beauty and freshness, that I presume would be that the building must by itself bring out the benefits of a good environmentally friendly design. Renewable energy, this would be the use of solar energy, effectively use of solar energy, as well as use of the waste which is generated for producing energy. As such, the alternate resources, in order to provide a viable alternative to fossil fuels, many businesses are seeking to engineer alternative sources of energy that do not generate atmospheric carbon. Solar and wind power are now among the most inexpensive sources of energy. Other alternative sources of energy, such as geothermal and tidal energies, have yet to be deployed at commercial scales. Again, a graphical representation. Primarily, we are worried about the non-renewable energies, which are basically the fossil fuels, the nuclear fuels, coal, natural gas. This is non-renewable. Mother Earth carries these as in its thing, but point is that these are not renewable and they are depleting very fast. However, energies like wind, solar, hydropowers, are even biomass are renewable forms of energy which we can keep utilizing it. The use of electrical vehicles and even hydrogen-based vehicles now is very important in an environmental friendly environment. Many manufacturers are exploring ways to either reduce automotive emissions, either by designing more efficient engines or shifting to electrical/hydrogen power. However, electric vehicles require a host of innovations in other fields, such as high capacity rechargeable batteries and charging infrastructure. Batteries is a major cause of concern because they require replacement after every 4 to 5 years. And disposal of batteries is definitely going to be a major issue in the coming years. In addition, the benefits of electric vehicles are limited by the fact that many power grids still rely on fossil fuels. Carbon capture. So primarily, carbon capture refers to a group of experimental technologies that seek to remove and sequester greenhouse gases, either at the point of combustion or from the atmosphere. This technology has been heavily promoted by the fossil industry, although it has yet to deliver on these expectations. LED lighting. A simple example of a green technology is LED. By avoiding incandescent bulb lights, there is a substantial gain on efficiency. LED light bulbs use less energy than the traditional incandescent. Plus, LED lights prove vital outside pure visual aids. Instead, they have been implemented in vertical farming and have even combated malaria. Smart LEDs are a simple, smart home upgrade, and even apartment dealers have been adopting this. Vertical farming. Vertical farming is an eco-friendly technology as simple as its name. There have been many cases where many flyovers where the vertical walls are there, the architects are designing gardens and vertical farming so that the carbon which is emitted from the vehicles gets absorbed. This concept of growing green produce in stacked vertical layers rather than horizontally. The benefits of vertical farming are have increased sustainability. Some vertical farming configurations don't even require soil and reduce water use exponentially. The look of the building or the infrastructure where vertical farming have been adopted changes dramatically. By itself, the green plants absorb carbon and provide a cooling effect to the building, thereby reducing the overall requirement of ACs in the building because it is natural coolant. As we say, reuse, reduce, and recycle. Recycling seeks to conserve scarce resources by reusing materials or finding sustainable substitutes. While plastic, glass, paper, and metal waste are the most familiar forms of recycling, more sophisticated operations can be used to recover expensive raw materials from e-waste or automobile parts. Coming back to the green building. Green building is the practice of creating structures and using processes that are environmentally responsible, resource efficient throughout a building's life cycle, from siting of the building to design, construction, operation, maintenance, renovation, and finally the deconstruction. That is primarily the demolition. This practice expands and complements the classical building designs concerns of economy, utility, durability, and comfort. Green building is also known as a sustainable or a high performance building. The ideal green building would be a building project that would allow you to preserve most of the natural environment around the site, while still being able to produce a building that is going to serve a purpose. Again, representing it through a graphical representation, the sustainability of a green building is primarily it should be energy efficient. These are basically whatever is shown in this graph are primarily the methods in which the GREHA, which was proposed by Terry, they have laid out certain parameters for which the green building would be said to sustain. So the building should be energy efficient. There should be an efficient energy generation and a distribution efficiency. The indoor environment must improve in terms of good lighting and cool environment during summers, and giving a protection against the cold breeze during the winters, the reduction of the greenhouse gases, the material efficiency, when whatever material has been used should be efficiently used. Local material should be used. The resources should be utilized efficiently. Design efficiency, management efficiency, and most important is the water management efficiency, because water which gets converted into wastewater, this has to be recycled. Comfort efficiency, because the inhabitants of the building would look for comforts. Land efficiency, in the sense that the land should be so utilized that it's very efficient, and it gives back the advantages to the people who stay in the inhabitants of the building. There are a number of features which can make a building green. These, as I earlier brought out, are the efficient use of energy, water, and other resources. Use of renewable energy, such as solar energy. Pollution and waste reduction measures, and the enabling of reuse and recycling. Good indoor environmental air quality. This is a must for the inhabitants, because inhabitants, the level of comfort during the extreme summers and winters would increase if our building is green. Use of materials that are non-toxic, ethical, and sustainable. Consideration of the environment in design, construction, and operation. Consideration of the quality of life of occupants in design, construction, and operation. A design that enables adaptation to a changing environment. Just to show again through a graphical design, summers when the sun is at about 65 degrees and the timing is such that the winter sun is there, and there should be the summer cooling breezes should be in a particular manner. The low use of lowered vents, winter blinds. These are basically the plantation of trees around the building. These are the basic concepts of a green building which have to be practiced. Green buildings can reduce the use of energy. Ideally, it should be up to 100%, but practically anything between 24 to 50%. Of course, subject to what are the designs and what are the how much solar energy has been utilized. Carbon emissions, again reduction, quite a bit of reduction in here. The use of water. This is very critical, as I brought out earlier, that we must have self-sufficient buildings who can capture the rainwater, utilize the rainwater for drinking purposes, utilize the wastewater, recycle the after due treatment, recycle it for gardening and other purposes. Reduction in solid waste. This is very important, can be very easily achieved by segregation at the source and collecting dry waste and wet waste separately, and whatever the wet waste has been converting it into manure and utilizing it for the building purposes, in the gardening purposes. As I said, the advantages of the green technology we must have this as that no harmful emissions into the atmosphere. It can bring economic benefits to that particular area. Requires less maintenance. The green technology should require less maintenance so that they don't have to shell out a lot of money in operations and maintenance. Renewable, which means that we will never run out of it. This is the major advantage, that is in the sense of your water collection systems, your solar water, etc. These will not run out. The sun always is very bright in India, and we must utilize the brightness and try to conserve energy. All these, the green technology will definitely slow down the effects of global warming by reducing the carbon dioxide emissions. Of course, there's when advantages go, you have some disadvantages also. Primarily, the green technology implementation costs are slightly high. Initially, the infrastructure which has to be created is high, but this is only during the implementation side. But during the operations and maintenance, the benefits of the green technology should be able to overcome the initial cost of implementation of the green technology. There's again a lacuna in the lack of information. So the green technology and the use of green technology in the building of green buildings the people need to be educated about it. We as academicians who are aware about the various factors of impacts on the environment should be able to reach to the inhabitants and give them information about the benefits of use of green technology. No known alternative chemicals or raw material inputs. No known alternative process technologies. These are primarily what I was trying to say is that in the green technology, the use of alternative process technologies needs to be increased. We need to have more research and design. We need to have more academicians and researchers looking into alternative process technologies, bringing out new raw materials for input in the construction of the green building. Of course, wherever a green technology is there, there's uncertainty about the performance impacts, because short-term impacts and long-term impacts have to be considered, and their benefit has to be seen. Lack of human resources and skills. Primarily what happens is whenever we design a building for vertical farming or water recycling, etc., the local man, the plumber or the local gardener has a lack of human resource and skill. This needs to be enhanced, again, through us. A short idea about Graha. This is the green rating for the integrated habit assessment. This is primarily a rating tool which was developed by TERI, the Energy and Research Institute, New Delhi, and has been endorsed by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. This Graha helps people assess the performance of their buildings against certain nationally accepted benchmarks. It evaluates the environmental performance of a building holistically over its entire life cycle period, thereby providing a definitive standard for what constitutes a green building. The rating system, based on accepted energy and environmental principles, will seek to provide a balance between the established practices and emerging concepts, both national and international. Graha attempts to minimize a building's resource consumption, waste generation, and overall ecological impact to within certain nationally acceptable limits or benchmarks. Graha attempts to quantify aspects such as energy consumption, energy or like power consumption, in terms of electricity consumed in kilowatt hour per square meter per year. Water consumption in terms of liters per person per day. Waste generation in terms of kilograms per day, or if it is wastewater, then liters per day. Renewable energy integration in terms of kilowatt of connected load. Today, even the solar, with the use of the advanced solar panels, we are able to produce energy for the building, and the surplus production we can supply back to the grid. The most of the municipal corporations, they buy back the electricity from during the surplus period time. Let us say between morning 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock, you have energy in surplus. So the grid takes back your energy, and they give back the energy at the night time, or they pay you for that surplus energy. GREHA assesses a building out of a few criterias and awards points on a scale of 100. In order to qualify for a GREHA certification, a project must achieve at least 50%. GREHA has the project scoring systems as 50 to 60% points as certified as 1-star GREHA rated building. 61 to 70 is a 2-star GREHA rated building. Similarly, 71 to 80 is a 3-star. 81 to 90%, 4-star, and the highest being 91 to 100 being a 5-star GREHA rated building. I would like to introduce a case study on Suzlon One Earth, which is located at Pune, Maharashtra. The area of the site is approximately 45,000 square meters, and the total built-up area in the project is about 70,865 square meters. In this built-up area, the air-conditioned area is about 40,418 square meters, and the non-air conditioned area is about 24,582 meters square. Energy consumption reduction in this building is about 47 from the GREHA benchmark. Now that would mean that if GREHA had a benchmark of 100, this building is giving 47% reduction in the consumption. That means still 53% of the energy is being supplied from outside, and 47% is being produced by the building through solar energy production. Water consumption reduction has reduced by 65%. This is by water which goes into the soil, and we are recycling that water in the house for the inhabitants. In addition, this wastewater is also being locally recycled and being utilized for gardening and flushing purposes. Energy production is about 55.86 kilowatt per meter square per year. Occupancy hours, this is the time when the people are present in the building, is about 2,640 hours per year approximately. Renewable energy installed on site is about 154.83 kilowatt, making it a 5-star rating of GREHA. This is a picture of the building. One may see that how the utilization of the building, the architecture has been so designed that it gives a cooling effect and reduces the air conditioning requirement. And the energy which is produced, if you may like to see, you have wind turbines also on the top, though not producing too much of see, but it gives a good feel to the building and gives energy. That is why this building has come into that five-star GREA environment. The strategies which were adopted to reduce the impact of the proposed building on natural environment: sustainable site building, dust screens provided construction areas to prevent air pollution. As you may well envisage that during the construction, maximum dust is produced. So the dust screens were utilized for reduction of the air pollution. Soil erosion controls were adopted. Utility corridors designed along roads and paths on site. Now, these utility corridors were primarily the places from which your vehicles come in, your other laborers come in. These were designed along the roads and paths so that the minimum amount of soil erosion and what takes place. Reduction in water consumption compared to GREA standards again. 65% reduction in building water consumption by use of low flow fixtures. I'm sure you will appreciate that whenever we go to the wash basin and on our taps, the water comes at very high speed. However, we are not able to utilize the entire flow of the water. So, as per in this particular building, low flow fixtures were fixed so that the reduction of flow would be to about 65%. 55% of the water is recycled and reused within the complex for gardening and flushing purposes. 50% reduction in landscape water consumption by planting native species of trees and shrubs, and utilization of efficient irrigation systems. These irrigation systems are basically the drip irrigation and the injectable irrigation systems. Reduction in energy consumption, again compared to the GREA benchmark, while maintaining occupant comfort. This energy consumption for achieving visual comfort, that is through sunlight, through sufficient sunlight inside the building, adequate daylighting and glare control measures, 100% desks equipped with LED lights governed by motion sensors. This is and achieving thermal comfort by having cool breezing in the building, pre-cooling of fresh air, heat recovery and exchanger mechanisms to minimize energy consumption, high efficient mechanical systems to reduce energy consumption. Mechanical systems, these imply the lifts, the various water pumps for pumping water to the overhead tanks, etc. So the renewable energy installed on site, solar energy is to the tune of about 13.44 kilowatt. They have installed 18 windmills. I brought out the windmills earlier, in windmills of about 4.75 kilowatt each. A great thing, almost 250,000 units of electricity is generated annually through this utilization of these renewable technologies, energy technologies. Passive architectural design strategies adopted in the building. Firstly, the orientation of the building. Facades of the building face north, south, northwest, and southeast. 100% shading by external lowers on the first and second floor. Partly self-shading blocks. Small terraces created in all blocks to improve interaction with the external environment. As you will well envisage, a building with small terraces would give you access to both sunlight and breeze, which we will be able to reduce the requirement of air conditioners during the summers. Use of low energy oblique green materials. 37% reduction in the quantity of structural concrete by using post-tension slabs. These were slabs which were utilized in the building, which the reduction of steel as well as concrete was ensured. 50% reduction in the quantity of structural steel. As I brought out earlier, due to this post-tension slabs, we have been able to reduce the concrete requirements by 37% and the structural steel requirement by about 50%. Use of Spirex fly ash blocks for better insulation. As such, fly ash has been utilized extensively in this building, and the blocks which were prepared were hollow blocks. The hollow blocks, primarily because of the air, they provide a better insulation for the building against during winters as well as during summers. Second case study is on Indira Bhavan. This is at New Delhi, location Aliganj. This is at Jorbagh, New Delhi, with a site area of almost about 10,000 square meters and a built-up area of about 31,400 square meters. The air conditioned area is almost about 12,000, whereas the non-air conditioned area is about 20,000 square meters. Energy consumption reduction, about 67.3% reduction in energy consumption compared to Griha benchmark. The API was 24.13 kilowatt per hour per meter square per year. Renewable energy rated capacity of solar panels installed on the site is about 930 kilowatt. May I see the building? This is the building at Jorbagh, New Delhi, and you may see on the facade itself, you will see a lot of glass panes, and on the top you may see the solar panels. The entire building is laced with solar panels, and there are a lot of green cover around it, so that the carbon dioxide emissions around the area get absorbed. Due to this excessive large windows, good sunlight as well as breeze comes into the building. This is a project of the Ministry of Environment and Forest for the construction of their new building at Aliganj, Jorbagh, New Delhi. The project has been designed to make the building net zero energy building. The energy consumption of Indira Paryavaran Bhavan is 67.3% less in comparison to the Griha benchmark. The project adopted numerous green building concepts for occupants' well-being and eco-friendly approaches like water consumption and rainwater harvesting. The building has a solar panel system installed in 6,000 square meters area of 930 kilowatt capacity. The total area covered by the panel is 4,650 square meters, and this is done by 2,844 solar panels, which generate about 14.3 lakh units, which is quite a large amount. Conservation of water, 50% reduction has been achieved in the overall use of water by recycling of the wastewater. Again, the sustainable site planning. The office building for the environment and forest has been planned in 2 parallel blocks facing the north and south direction with a large linear open court in the center. The building blocks create a porous block form to optimize air movement through the site, and the north-south orientation allows for optimum solar access and shading during the winters. The large number of trees on site have mostly been preserved to preserve the relatively cooler microclimate of this relatively green segment of the city. Greenery has been augmented by creating hard green spaces all around. A full solar panel cover on top covers the building, the court, and the edges to further create a shaded microclimate. The building is planned as a net zero building, producing as much energy site through solar energy as it consumes over the year. Reducing water consumption, all water has been recycled to create a zero waste water discharge building by utilizing and local STP with FAB/MBBR technology. As I brought out earlier, low flow fixtures have been used to reduce the water consumption of the building by 64%. Usage of native plants, trees, and a judicious use of sprinklers and drip irrigation helps reduction in the water requirement further. Use of low energy materials, tile terrazzo flooring combined with local stones, jute bamboo, composite internal doors, UVPC and sandstone jalis have been extensively used so that the energy requirement, these are being considered as a low energy material. Bamboo, doors made of bamboo, jute bamboo, sandstone jalis, etc. Renewable energy technologies installed on site. As brought out earlier, it is planned as an energy positive building where both the blocks and the whole entire central courtyard is covered with efficient solar panels of 930 kilowatt. Reducing energy consumption while maintaining occupant comfort. For achieving visual comfort, direct line of sight to the outdoor environment, to vision glazing for building occupants for more than 90% of the occupied places, avoiding deep floor plates to create maximum daylighted spaces, landscape planned with native species and water body features in central court and all around the building. For achieving thermal comfort, all circulation spaces or passages were naturally ventilated, shaded and not air conditioned. Energy efficient chilled beam using cooling system proposed together with condenser water cooling through ground pipes. Openable windows were proposed in conditioned areas to be able to utilize favorable outdoor conditions. For the references, I have utilized the following books and sites for the thing, for preparing this presentation. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I now request the participants that if you have any questions, if you have any queries, then you can raise your hand and ask the question to sir. Meanwhile, there is one question from Santosh Vyas, Professor Santosh Vyas, sir. What form of renewable energy is most feasible to be applied in sanitation of domestic grey water? Please suggest.
This is primarily the use of MBPR, because a small scale water treatment plant is what is advisable for thing, rather than having a large wastewater treatment plant at a centralized location. The buildings should have their own STPs, wherein they are using either fluidized aerobic bioreactors, that is FAB, or MBPR.
Yes, so one more question is green building possible in conjugated cities like you can say Ahmedabad or Bombay or Mumbai, right? Or is the cost very high in such circumstances?
Yes, I do agree. In the disadvantages during my presentation, I had brought out that the initial infrastructure which has to come up for a green building becomes costly. And moreover so, this is more of a problematic in a congested area. However, in new green areas, when infrastructure is coming up, the construction costs are comparatively low. But where it may be a demolition and a new building is coming up there, or it is a renovation of a building, yes, costs are very high and sometimes not very feasible also.
Yes, so there's one more question. What is the status of green buildings in India? I think you've already answered, but
Yeah,
if you can, yes.
see, the green building concept is not a very new concept. It is almost now 15, 20, 30 years of work has been going on. A lot of R&D is going into this green buildings. A lot of academicians and researchers are working hard on bringing up the new green buildings. But basically, it's the acceptance by the user, which is the most critical thing. And definitely the operations and maintenance of a green building is that much more complicated. During the presentation, I had brought out that we do not have that type of skills available. We see an academician or a researcher is not ultimately going to do the construction on ground. It is that common Mali or the laborer who's going to do things. And yes, for getting these things implemented, it is up to us. We have to educate them. We have to come forward to think. And our architectures, they must incorporate this there in their designs.
Yes, sir, because one of the observations that basically I have, many of us also have made, that currently the government or the local municipality has been covering the roadsides with the cement blocks, right? So actually there is no open area.
It's very wrong. It's very wrong. This has to be educated that this use of concrete blocks is we are depleting ourselves of the groundwater.
Yes,
because the water doesn't have an escape route now, and that is why the incidences of storm damages and excessive storms in big cities. Chennai is the biggest example of this. It is mostly inundated by floods because they have concreted everything. This is a major issue, and we as academicians and researchers, it becomes a primary responsibility that we must educate these people that please stop this type of development. This is not development. This is negative development.
Yeah. Any more questions that participants would like to ask to our expert speaker?
I think if there are no more questions, we can conclude the session.
Just, sir, 1 minute, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
Sir, we are trying to develop all these renewable sources and other things. Sir, there are so many now regularly the environmental issues came, even that global warming came, and so much disaster is started. So in which, in that particular time period or after we can say the disaster or before disaster, is there some planning we should, we have to go for the manage or in terms of power delivery or something like that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, power delivery say more than that, we have to approach a holistic view as to what are the efforts that the municipal corporations or the district authorities or the state authorities or at the national authority we must take to ensure that these disasters don't keep reoccurring. Now, for example, I was just talking about the Chennai, which has become very flood prone. Every year we hear, since the last 5-6 years, we've been hearing about flooding in Chennai. Whereas there was one time when Chennai was water, they did not have sufficient water also. And now today the situation has become that they are flooding every year, and especially this months of July and August are bad. Now, the lesson learned from this is that stop the concretization. You have a horizontal development, but don't make it so congested or don't make it so concretized that you don't let the escape routes of water. Escape routes of water is through soil, through natural our lakes. Another big thing is we have stopped making lakes.
Yes, sir.
And there was one time when villages used to have at least 2 to 3 or 4, 5 lakes around their areas. They could be artificial, could be man-made, could be natural, but they used to have. But now what has happened is the land grabbers in terms of those private parties who are developing land, they fill in these lakes, and we lack in terms of groundwater. We don't have escape route for water and causing storms. So this has to be a total holistic approach.
Yeah. Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Because that survey we have gone through, I have studied one case that Germany has completely they switch over on their renewable sources and they stop their atomic power plant and the conventional power plants. But one day, suppose this kind of, we can say, the disaster will become, then how we can say that provision should be required for our conventional power plants or something like that. Otherwise, it will be a big problem.
Patel, sir, I totally agree with what you are saying, sir. And this, I think, has to come up as a national policy that how much of nuclear power, because what is happening today is we are finding shortcuts to development. Right. Nuclear facility for the production of nuclear energy is definitely an advantage to the country in short term. But when we will have a major, like what happened in Russia, what happened in Japan, we'll have it will be a catastrophe. So that is why this has to be this decisions have to be at the national level and promulgated down the state level as well as districts and then to the municipal corporations.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any more questions? If there are no more questions, we can conclude the session. So I thank you, Colonel Dr. Vikrant Srivastava, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir, that was a pleasure, sir. It was extremely mentally stimulating session. And on behalf of BNB Institute of Technology, the organizing committee of this short-term training program, and participant, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, sir, for taking your time out for us and accepting our invitation and obliging. So your presentation was
my pleasure, sir.
Yes, sir, your presentation was very informative, and I'm sure that all the participants would have gained out a lot out of it. The case studies that you discussed were very apt, and keeping the things that we discussed today, or you discussed with us, or you shared with us today. If we can do little changes in our surroundings, around our house or around the locality, in our lifestyle, basically, then we will be able to save and conserve a lot of energy and will improve the livability, sir. So I thank you once again for enlightening us and sharing your valuable experience and your time and your ideas with us, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.